Hey everybody, welcome back. It's been a while since the last video, sorry about that. It's been busy. Kids starting school, you know how it is. Or maybe you don't, but either way. Alright, so where are we here? I believe it's time for the color puzzle. Yeah, here we go. Now this is a fun one, but it's very you got to really pay attention to your surroundings to pull it off. You got to be very specific. And there's little goodies too, which make it a little more challenging if you want to get all those. So first I'm going over here to the right. Where'd he go? Come on. So you gotta... How do you do this again? It's funny because I played this game so many times, but I can still get a little foggy on the details. So I guess you could say it has a lot of replay value because of that. What we got here? Okay. There was more stuff going on with this dungeon. We had more ideas. I remember seeing a few unused maps that Mark was working on that didn't make it into the final one. It was before he came up with the golem as a sort of central mechanic. There were some rooms that had like some kind of like dark cloud that you couldn't spend much time in, so you had to like take breaks. You had to like be careful how the paths you took and stuff like that. And it was kind of interesting. I think what he came up with was probably better. The golem thing is a lot of fun. But I always he was so good at this that I always felt like any idea that didn't get used, it was a shame. Especially there was a lot of stuff in Arc 5 that didn't get used. We can talk about that when we get there, but I'm gonna seal some of those puzzles one day. Mark my words. I'm gonna be making some other game, and then I'm gonna put one of those puzzles in because they just gotta get used. So now we're in the potion room, which I like because it's a memory puzzle, and I've always had a pretty good memory for details like this. And it's just picking the right colors in the right order, and you get everybody, at a table, and you just got to push directional buttons to hit it. And some of them get really complicated if you want to make like the really complex stuff that you find. And it's where you make these add-ons to the golem, which is really fun. You get more things you can do with it. And I think it was inspired. One of the Mario Party games, one of the old ones for the Nintendo 64, there was a game where you had to it was kind of like a Simon Says game, where you were like dressed up as witches or warlocks or whatever, and you were putting different colored mushrooms in a stew, and every button on the controller was a different color, so you had to the Simon or the little toad or whoever was in charge would yell out a letter, and then you had to hit the button really quick. And it wasn't quite the same. It was more of a reflexes puzzle and a memory puzzle. But I think the mixing potions thing kind of stuck with him. And this is so long ago that we're working on this stuff now, like 2006, 2007, that we were probably playing a lot of Mario Party. We used to get together, 4 of us guys, and do the 50-turn Mario Party games, which were like 3 or 4 hours, and just like spend all night doing that. And there would be and given the randomness of Mario Party, it could end up with really pissed off people by the time it was over. I mean, I've never been overly competitive. But I mean, I got pissed off sometimes too, because just, sometimes it was just infuriating. But for the most part, I wasn't, what do you call it? I wasn't too wrapped up in it, but the others would sometimes get like super pissed. And it's funny now, but at the time, it's late and you're tired. I was just like, fuck this game. But we still did it a bunch of times. And this is how you get rid of the slimy guys. You spin around with the spikes really hard. And you can actually fight them. We have a little RTP battler, but you can't do any damage. So the player eventually gets the clue that you're gonna need something else. And so this is just a fun. One of the many reasons I think why this is a really fun dungeon is that there's so much like additional shit you can get for yourself. All the dungeons have like extra treasure you can find if you put your mind to it. But this one in particular, you can really sort of enhance your experience, I guess, and get all this cool stuff. Okay. Oh, how do you... Is that gonna... Okay, you go through there. Okay. Alright, so to get on the right side, shit. Gotta be precise. I think he has to go... Well, I'll get the treasure first. And then I'll bring him back, and then we can go in the right there. I'm pretty sure he has to come with me. So yeah, because you can make a miracle drop in the potion mix. The only one, because then people would be like spamming it. And this was like before we had the 20 item limit. It used to be that you could have as many items of anything as you wanted, so people would just buy like, a ton of like 100 potions and stuff, which isn't practical after a while because your hit points get to a point where like they don't help much. But it was also kind of ridiculous, so at some point Mark made it so that you couldn't have more than 20 of a particular item. And that didn't seem to have really hurt anybody's chances of beating the game. What's in here? Oh yeah, this is we used to have a puzzle here because this is where you can read the Solik's notes on the Forbidden Spell of Rebirth, which is what he's been working on for the hand. And it used to be that you had to we had a puzzle where you had to like kind of organize the steps in the spell that Solik is outlining here. And you would find scraps and you put them in the right order. But I guess Mark probably thought it was too similar to that that history puzzle back in Andau's church hideout, where you had the fragments of the world's history, and then you had to organize them chronologically and use clues in the text. So I think he probably felt that he was repeating himself a little too much there, which is why that got scrapped. And there's another puzzle towards the end of the game, which is vaguely similar, but different enough that people won't feel like they've already done it. I have to give that golem his new recipe. Once we're over there. Oh shit. Right? Oh, that's how you do it. See, I tell you, I mean, I've done this so many times, but I always have to think. You can't really autopilot this one. But this should do it. There we go. Now you can give him... Oh, did I do it yet? Can't recall. Alright, so I'm going to go up here. Oh, that's right. This room. Okay, so we're not ready. We're not quite ready for this yet. And we could do it, but there's no way to get the golem through at this point. But I do need him up there so I can get this treasure. Nice. What's down here? Oh, yeah. So I'm going to get him back down here, and then I have to make the golem upgrade along with some other stuff. Should we fight him? Yeah, I don't think I fought this mob yet. So you can see, I was saying last time that we just had a lot of the monsters that we had to use recolored, with the rationale that Solik had been experimenting on some of the creatures in the area. And, you know, it works well enough. Okay, now we got a few things we can make here. What should we do first? Okay. So I think probably some people wind up having to write this down to remember it. But you know, it's fine. Just grab a piece of paper. Sometimes puzzles make you do that. But I don't know, I've always had a good memory. Although, oddly enough, I'm absent-minded, too. It's kind of a weird combination. But, like, I don't know, I just have a really good memory for stuff that I'm really interested in. Like, you know, you can ask me, like, any movie I've seen, and I've seen, like 3,000 or something at this point, because I'm such a movie buff. But, and I'll be able to tell you, like, what I thought of it, just because I remember, like, everything I've watched. And my dad told me this story once that I was a little kid, and I had there was some toy catalog lying around, and you know how little kids have phases, you know, where they're just interested in like random things, like you know, my kids right now they're all into stores, you know, bakeries, grocery stores. So they get you know, they put some Legos together and they say like, oh, you know, this is the bakery, this is the grocery store, and, you know, it's kind of cute. And so I had a phase when I was a little kid, probably about their age actually, about 4 years old, that I was really into signs, you know, like road signs, stop signs, you know, I don't know, any fucking sign. And so I was looking at this toy catalog, and they had this, you know, this collection of little wooden signs that you could play with. And so I was so excited that, you know, my mom and dad ordered it for me. And then when they came, as soon as I took them out of the box, my dad remembers me like trying to arrange them in like just this particular way. And the idea was, and they couldn't figure out, you know, why I was being like so precise about it. And then he realized that what I was doing was putting the signs like in the exact same positions, you know, relative to each other that I had seen in that catalog, you know, however many weeks ago I had seen it. And so then he says to me, well, that's when I realized you had a photographic memory. And I was like, I don't know if I have you know, I mean, say photographic, that implies like, you know, absolute like perfection in your memory, and there are things that I have forgotten, I'm sure. And just, I don't know, it's funny, I think that comes at a little bit of a price. Like, I can remember all these movies I've seen and shit like that, but like, you know, I have to clean the microwave at some point, and I don't know if I'll remember to do that. I could write a note, I guess, but sometimes I forget to like look at it. So I think it, you know, I think it's strictly relegated to stuff that I have some passion in. I can't say that I'm really passionate about the household chores, although of course they still need to be done. But so it's kind of funny that way. You know, when I was a journalist, I was always forgetting my notebook. So then I would get to someplace and have to take notes, and I was like, shit, I don't have a fucking notebook. One time I took notes by sending myself text messages on my phone, just typing in what was going on, what people were saying, because that was all I had. Eventually, though, I sort of, helped myself a bit. I took a spare notebook and just left it in the car, and that became like the notebook that I used when I forgot my notebooks from work. So there's always one in my car, and that helped. So sometimes you have to like do that to set to support yourself, I guess. All right, so I don't think I need to really forge anything. So we got the bombs. We can blow holes in these things now. And now this is a fun room. I think it stumps people though, because you gotta like think outside the box a little. But you might have wondered why the golem has a jump function, and this is the reason. This room, he jumps so heavy that weight, that big iron ball or whatever, falls off the shelf. And then you got to get it to the other side where the switch is. So what do? You can't get it down the ladder, but you can put it in the golem's head. And he goes over there, and then you go and pull it out. It's a pretty ingenious little puzzle. But, we had plenty of people who would go on the forums or whatever and be like, what do I do in this room with a big ball? I can't move it. It won't come down the ladder. So we had to sort of try and give them hints without, ruining it, because part of the fun is that sort of that aha moment when you realize what you're supposed to do. And that's one of those things that's just sort of special to video games as an art form. And I do think it's an art form. I know that some people that kind of push against that because they think that means it won't be fun to play him anymore. But I don't think that's necessarily the case at all. Alright, so that's the door you have to go through later. I think we're in the boss room. Yeah, here's the mutated fairy, who initially looks like she's become a zombie, but she's actually just discolored. She was staging a silent protest of the fairy legislature. And we've heard this a few times from different fairies in the last few dungeons, and it's going to reach its apex soon enough. We'll have the fairy side quest, which is a lot of fun. So we have a government that's not protecting its representatives, and in return they don't protect the people. So it's a big problem. Though that sequence, I don't know how that sequence is going to play now. That was very much a product of its era, and we're in a way different era right now in United States politics. But we'll see when I get there. And then we finally get to meet Solik, who has a badass theme. This is an Apocalyptica song. And we loved Apocalyptica because it was really like high quality, intense music, but it was also instrumental. And they went on tours and stuff. They were like a real band, or maybe I think they're still doing stuff. They're a real band. It's not like just somebody on the computer, like just making music, which is fine. We got plenty of that too. But it was cool because it was like all these cool songs with string instruments, and a lot of them are really menacing. Just there's something about like violins and cellos and all that can be really sinister. And so we use them for a lot of scenes with villains. And it kind of works for this scene because it's just sort of the intensity gradually builds when you realize just how much Solik knows about Stoic. And since Stoic's been pretty buttoned up about his past, when the characters have brought it up thus far, he realizes that he knows quite a bit, and it unnerves all of them, but especially Stoic, because he has never really wanted to be famous necessarily. He just always wanted to do the right thing, and he kind of struggles over his lifetime to figure out, what that is. But of course, that's Arc 5. We'll get there. Well, there's a line coming up. Or maybe he already said it. But he said something like, despite your best efforts, your life has not gone unnoticed. And you got to figure, like, people who are interested in necromancy are way into his story, because he's got a unique story. And but now he's saying, since Stoic's been opposed to necromancers, opposed to to dark mages generally, you can't really figure that out, because Solik is a true believer in the necromancer cause, and he talks more about that later. But it's something that slowly gets established, like, over the game. Like, initially, you have the conflict between the sort of two factions of Arcadius followers, which is, you have this side that's sort of bigoted at best and genocidal at worst, and then you have the more peaceful, sort of modern Arcadius follower, who just, like, wants to help their fellow people. But you start to realize that there's a third side to the story that's not sort of being ignored in the midst of this, which is the case that the Perdition followers have. And was she really so bad? Are her principles really so bad? And that was something I wanted to get into more in more games, because we see some of it here, but it's still, like, in the background over this battle for the soul of Arcadius, if you want to call it that. But it was definitely something I wanted to get into at another time. And we have so now we got a cool Solik battle. I always like that, especially, like, the way that costume comes into play later when next time you see him. And then you have these 4 skeleton guards, just to, like, spice up the fight a bit. But unfortunately, as you can see, it's just the RTP skeleton sprite, which of course is what Stoic started off as. The original skeleton has a shield, even with a skull on it. And for Stoic sprite, we gave him the 2 swords, and but that was basically all we changed about it. I mean, because we established the look of the main characters really early on, before we had access to to artists and stuff. We made connections during the course of this game, and there's, the farther you get, you get some more visually ambitious stuff. So especially towards the end, we have a lot of things that are more complex visually. I mean, it's still not up to the standard of some other RPG Maker games. Like, I could name a few of them, like Star Sealing Prince, if you guys know that game. That's just visually amazing, because she's an artist and she could make that stuff herself, which we never really had. I mean, Mark's strengths are in design, and mine were in writing, so we didn't really have that ability to create these visual resources, so we were always relying on other people. And but you make connections, and that's, I think, something that you get some newcomers to this whole thing, and they don't necessarily grasp it. They come in and they want everybody to do the stuff for them, but it's like, the artists are like, well, I'm busy, and who are you? So you sort of have to, prove yourself a little bit, which is, what we were trying to do. We put out the early arcs, so we had hardly anything, and but they were, and people enjoyed them enough that they were eager to help us out, so it worked out pretty well. But anyway, Solik's down. And oh, my dog's growling. Oh dear, maybe the mail's coming. But the golem's here, and then we have kind of a surprise sequence here. Don't do it, golem. Laura really likes that golem. It's kind of cute. But you don't have to fight it, because Solik pushes him a little too far. At first he's sort of, standing up, but he pushes just the right button. You'll always be alone. And that's something Stolic's really scared of, so he decides to lash out. And that's the end of Solik for now. Yeah, I don't know if that's a spoiler, but I mean, I don't know. Like, I figure most people watching this have played the game already, so I'm not totally worried about that, but I'm trying to keep the really big spoilers under wraps just because I don't know. And if and if this is how you'd like to experience the game, then who am I to say no? But we haven't seen the last of Solik, so I mean that's. And it's funny, we had. I remember we had somebody come on the forum. They only played like up to this point, and they were like, "Oh man, why'd you kill Solik so early? He had a lot of potential. He was a cool character." And we were just like, "Hey man, keep playing, okay?" Didn't want to ruin it, but at the same time. And now we have we're back with Gabriella. She made it back to the monastery, and pretty fast. And I think there's a couple lines basically says that vampires don't get tired the same way, so she can just walk for a long time and or teleport maybe if she was doing any of that, since she can do that now, without getting tired. Although I don't know if we really have to justify it. I think people accept it. I mean, now Game of Thrones fucking characters are going like all over the world map in like an hour. So I think we have some leeway here. But this is a tough scene for her because she comes home and she's just getting like totally like her friends turn on her. Well, I don't know if she really knew those guys, but she knows Celine. And now she's really starting to understand, like, what it really is to be a vampire. She thought it was just, you're a monster, you lost your mind, and you're just, like, going out and hurting people indiscriminately. But that's not the case. She's just herself. I think Andov said something like that to that effect. But, I mean, like a lot of things, you don't really understand until it happens to you. People used to say that to me about having kids. People that I knew who had kids already. And sometimes that can be condescending, you know what I mean? Because people are like, oh, well, you haven't lived, your life's not complete till you have kids. And that shit's annoying because, like, it's not for everybody. I mean, it's a big fucking responsibility, so if you don't really want them, you shouldn't have them. But at the same time, there are certain like feelings and stuff that like I never really understood until I had kids. So some things you just have to experience to really sort of understand what it's like. But now we're back above ground, and we're wrapping up our business here in Millennia. And they've made the copy of the report, and then they'll be on their way to find Colmarin, who they already learned was in Artagil back in Arc 3 from Lily. No, hey man, that's what we do. Finley's a chill dude. He can be charismatic when he tries. But we're not quite done here yet because there's cool stuff you can do here. So you can go up to this house. Well, I might have walked by it. Let's see what we got here now that I'm in here. Did I get anything cool? No, I guess the next dungeon will be the one where the crafting gets real. Oh, that's right, that. So I got the old watch before. Oh, I need some topaz. That's in the next dungeon. Okay. So you find the old watch around Relenia in the dark. You remember I was looking for that before. But you can go in this house because we have the house key, and this is where Solik and Rana were hiding out. And they had, this this way downstairs to the below the city. Although I don't know what those beds were for in the other room. I don't know if they were having like people over. But hey, you sleep downstairs in the fucking crypt, But so you can get the cold cannon for Finley, which is pretty fun, especially when you have two of them. So you're doing hot and cold damage. Although we've left the cold dungeon behind, so won't have to worry about accidentally healing the enemies or whatever. And there's another thing you can do. You can actually go back over to the fountain because the way is still open. I think this guy says something different. Oh yeah, was that King? He wants King Badana like Stoic. But those are pretty unique items, as we'll find out. Yeah, so you go down here, and I don't know. This might be new to some people because I don't know how many people did this. But it's actually the way this dungeon was made. Oh fuck! Come on, no, I'm not doing this wrong. Really, you guys? Come on, you don't even have to fight me anymore. Your master's gone. Just if you open the cells, just go do something. But this dungeon's design is like one straight path from the from that room to the boss. So once you have everything like unlocked, you can just go right through. That's we blew this hole so we can go right through there without having to step on all the switches. And then there's that room we couldn't open, but now it's open. So you go in here. As you can see, we got a little locked up room there. And this is how he was getting out of the city, this one passage. So he was really just sneaking around undetected. Now we have the golem, and since Solik is dead, and you can comment on his corpse here. After all times he's desecrated the dead, last thing he needs is burial. Oof. Stoic is not sorry about that. And then blow this up. And there we have it. Again, this cool mace for Laurel. So that's fun, right? I think so. Alright, so let's GTFO. And I suppose we'll wrap this up for now. It's a good stopping point. Once I get out, anyway. So I hope you guys are enjoying this. I don't get a whole lot of views and comments, but that's okay. Well, I mean, I'd like more comments. If you guys have anything you want to say, any questions you want me to answer in the future, I'd be happy to do that. But I'm not going to do the like, comment, and subscribe thing because I don't really, I'm not fishing for likes and subscriptions. I just, hoping people who played the game might enjoy the commentary. Or if, like I said, if you want to see the game like this, which I know is a up and coming thing now, this is what we can do. All right, see you guys later. Peace.